Good afternoon and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Amanda from CCIQ and I'll be facilitating today's session. Joining me is Emma Jacobson, Customer Manager at WorkCover Queensland. Today's webinar is on how to make sense of your workers' compensation insurance obligations. When your insurance is up for renewal or you're looking to take out insurance cover, do you know what you need to do and who you need to cover? Well, today Emma is going to answer these questions and discuss what coverage you have when a worker is injured, as well as talk about what resources are available to you. Now, before we start, if you do want to ask a question, you can do so at any time using the chat box that appears on the bottom right-hand side of your screen. So that's it from me. I'll now hand over to Emma to take you through today's presentation.
Thanks, Amanda. It's my pleasure to be here today, and thank you to everybody for tuning in. Did you know that it's renewal time? So this webinar provides you all you need to know about your policy with WorkCover Queensland, and I'll show you how easy it is to renew with us to ensure your workers are covered for the 2019-2020 financial year. So we're going to cover a fair bit today, including a recap of the series so far, your accident insurance policy, rights and responsibilities you have, who to cover, the tools and resources that are available to you, and we'll end with an opportunity for some questions from you. So CCIQ and WorkCover have partnered together this year to deliver some informative and practical sessions for CCIQ members. So far, we have presented WorkCover for Small Business, which provided an understanding of WorkCover in general, basically the who we are and what we do. Our suitable duties and health benefits of good work session outlined the research that supports the health benefits of good work. It explored how work forms part of any good rehab program and the importance of regular and genuine communication. And the last webinar covered mental health in the workplace, where we talked about the importance of preventing and controlling injuries by ensuring hazards are identified and processes are implemented to control them. How vital it is for leaders and business owners to model self-care and positive mental health practices, as well as the importance of intervening early if one of your team is showing signs of psychological distress. If you have an interest in any of those topics and weren't able to join us for the webinar, it's available from both CCIQ and WorkCover, so please get in touch with us to request your copy. Okay, so just as a quick reminder, WorkCover Queensland are a government-owned statutory body that provides workers' compensation insurance to Queensland businesses. We've been doing this since 1997. As a self-funded body, we strive to maintain the lowest possible average premium rate by continuously investing in efficient online customer services and experienced in-house claims management capability to support our employers and to make a positive difference in the life of injured workers. We are a customer-focused insurer and aim for insurance excellence, despite it being mandatory for all Queensland employers to hold a WorkCover accident insurance policy, unless the employers hold a self-insurance licence with the regulator. We are passionate about striking the right balance between keeping premium costs low for employers and providing injured workers with access to rehabilitation and the best possible return to work support. This means understanding and meeting customer needs and evolving our business processes to suit these needs. We maintain high return to work rates by partnering with our customers and stakeholders. Our premium rate has been maintained at $1.20 per $100 in wages, which is one of the lowest average premium rates in the nation and provides a competitive advantage for Queensland businesses. Our prudent financial management and efficiencies throughout all our operations has enabled us to achieve a stable and certain financial position, ensuring our premium stability for customers and the ongoing viability of the fund. The premium rate is not the only factor that contributes to your premium calculation. Your wages paid, claims experience, and industry performance all affect the calculation of your premium, and we'll talk more about that soon. As an employer, you have rights and responsibilities relating to your obligation to insure your workers. If you have a business in Queensland and employ workers, it is compulsory to insure them against work-related injuries. Unless you are a licensed self-insurer, the Workers' Compensation and Rehabilitation Act of 2003 requires Queensland employers to take out an accident insurance policy to ensure their workers are covered with WorkCover Queensland. WorkCover's accident insurance policy gives you peace of mind knowing that you're insured against all statutory damage and damages claims costs in the event of a work-related injury to your workers. There are no limits or caps to the number of claims that can be made against your policy. So some responsibilities that you've got include renewing your policy. So you need to accurately declare your wages and pay your premium during our renewal period each year. We'll cover a little bit more on that later. You also are responsible for maintaining your policy. So this includes telling WorkCover if your primary business activity changes, as that might affect your WorkCover industry classification and premium rate. You need to tell us if your contact details change, and if you would like to authorize anybody from your business to act on your behalf with us. It's always a good idea to have robust and specific workplace safety and rehab policies in place. WorkCover and Workplace Health and Safety are always here to help you if you have any questions or you need assistance in creating or updating your policies. Did you know that any application for compensation that meets the definitions outlined in the Act, so a worker that is injured while working for your business, is still eligible for workers' compensation even if there is no current policy in place? WorkCover Queensland must pay compensation to a worker if they are entitled to it under the Act. If we are required to pay a claim for an uninsured employer, we are entitled to recover the full amount paid on that claim plus penalties. So this is why it's so important for you to understand your insurance responsibilities. WorkCover Queensland also conducts an ongoing compliance and education program throughout the year to ensure employers know the responsibilities and have the appropriate cover. It's all part of WorkCover's commitment to achieving a fair and sustainable workers' compensation scheme. So your accident insurance policy insures you against the cost of any claims for work-related injuries. The accident insurance policy covers you for a range of statutory claims costs on any claims that WorkCover accepts. Yet you're insured against the cost of lost wages and medical costs. So for example, doctor consultations, medications and x-rays, hospital costs in both public and private hospitals, rehabilitation costs, so for example, physiotherapy or return to work programs, travelling expenses, lump sum payments for permanent impairment, and death benefits and funeral expenses. The only statutory claim cost you as an employer are liable for is an excess on any accepted claim where the worker has taken time off work. As you can imagine, there are many types of injuries that could be work-related and your policy will cover you for. A few examples of what can be covered are physical injuries such as back strains, lacerations, fractures and burns. We also cover for psychological and psychiatric injuries, so things like anxiety disorders and post-traumatic stress disorder. If you would like to understand more about these types of injuries, you can ask us for a copy of the mental health webinar, which covers those types of injury in more detail. WorkCover will also cover you for injuries that were sustained over a period of time rather than a specific event at work. For example, things like industrial deafness. Conditions including asbestosis and silicosis are what we call latent onset injuries and can also be claimed. An interesting type of claim is for an injury that is an aggravation of a pre-existing condition. So we see that a lot in things like back injuries, and we work closely with the medical team involved to ensure that we are only covering the work-related aggravation rather than the underlying condition. Many people don't realise that WorkCover also provides benefits in the event of a fatality that is connected to work. Injuries incurred while travelling to or from work, while on a break from work, or while working interstate and overseas may also be covered. With the increase in remote working and flexible working arrangements, you should be aware that employees may be covered while working from home, as long as the injury arises out of or in the course of their employment, and the employment is the significant contributing factor to the injury. The information on how people can work safely in their homes See Workplace Health and Safety Queensland's Guide to Working Safely in People's Homes. There's also some advice regarding health and safety for telecommuters available on our website. As I mentioned earlier, claims costs can affect your premium with us. However, the type of injury and how, where, and when it occurred will determine whether or not that claims costs will affect your premium. There's another type of claim, a common law claim, which is when your injured worker sues you for damages. As your insurer, WorkCover represents you during any common law claim and are there to support and guide you every step of the way. Your accident insurance policy covers you for the full cost of any common law claim. The costs of damages payable to your injured worker can include past and future loss of income, treatment and other medical, hospital, or rehabilitation expenses, pain and suffering, and legal costs. So watch out for a future WorkCover webinar that will be addressing common law claims, presented by one of our legal panel members. When you take out a policy with WorkCover, your policy is given a WorkCover industry classification, or a WIC. We use these WICs to classify what your business does and help us calculate an appropriate premium. Your WIC is determined by your business activity, being what your business mainly does to generate revenue. So a good way to think about it is, what do you invoice your customers or your clients for? So remember that your business activity is what your business does, not what your individual staff do. So for example, in addition to cleaners, a cleaning business may also employ admin staff, accountants, drivers, or other roles which don't necessarily reflect the overall business activity, but help to support it. Each WIC has a corresponding premium rate, which is calculated using the claims cost performance of all businesses classified in that industry. A WIC rate isn't linked to any perceived risk for workers in that industry. It's linked to actual claims experience for Queensland businesses. So your WIC is one of the factors in your premium calculation. You can find details about WICs in the Queensland Government Gazette, which is published annually. Smaller employers who pay $1.5 million of wages per year or less have their premium calculated using a simplified premium model, which is based on a claims performance rating. Employers can only move one rating category above or below their current rating from year to year, which caps annual variances in premium rates at 10%. I highlight here that we are talking about percentages of your industry rate, which is linked to your WIC or your business activity. There are other factors to consider, including annual changes to your industry rate, as well as variance in your wages declaration for the year, both of which can impact your final premium figure for the year. Under this model, you see the benefits of improving workplace safety sooner, with only the claims costs from the previous financial year influencing your policy rating. You can see the rating categories on this slide, with up to 20% discount on the industry rate for those employers with a great claims history. Also note that a new business opening a new policy will be allocated a rating 3, which is 100% of the industry rate, or the rate that is published in the Government Gazette. There's some great benefits to this premium calculation model. They include the maximum 10% movement limit. This means that there's no large variances in your premium rate year to year, and you will always pay between 80 to 100% of your industry rate. We've also implemented a $500 claim cost protection. This prevents a minor claim from affecting your policy rating. So the first $500 of claims costs on a policy will not count towards your claims experience. Plus, then there's our no claims discount. Employers with a policy rating of 2, 3, 4, or 5 will automatically move down one policy rating if they have a claim-free year. So that's a guaranteed 10% reduction to your industry rate. Employers with a policy rating of 1 benefit from the best available discount to their premium, paying only 80% of the industry rate. WorkCover Queensland's accident insurance policies are due from renewal between the 1st of July and the 31st of August each year. In early July, you would have received your renewal notice from us, and our online services also open up on the 1st of July. Firstly, you will need to declare your wages information to ensure you have the right level of cover, and then pay your premium. It's that easy. The quickest and easiest way to declare and pay your premium is online, or alternatively, you can give us a call. So some key dates to remember here are the 31st of August. So your wage declaration is due by that date, and your full premium payment is due by the 30th of September if you aren't going to pay via a payment plan. We also offer an early payment discount, which I'll let you know a little bit more about later on. As a Queensland employer, understanding who is a worker according to the Workers' Compensation and Rehabilitation Act is vital, and this knowledge will mean you're not liable for claims costs if someone deemed a worker is injured while working for you. A worker is a person who works under a contract and in relation to the work is an employee for the purpose of assessment for PAYG withholding under the Taxation Administration Act of 1953. So a worker must be an individual. In simplified terms, a person who works under a contract of service is a worker. The nature of engagement is a key factor for many employers, and understanding the difference between a worker and a contractor can sometimes require consideration. Simply the fact that someone has their own ABN is not sufficient to make a decision either way. The phrase contract of service generally refers to the contract between an employer and an employee. A large part of the workforce work under a contract of service, which, for example, is the PAYG system. It contrasts with the term contract for services, which is generally used to characterize a relationship with an independent contractor. To determine whether a worker is an employee or a contractor, we need to consider their whole working arrangement and look at the specific terms and conditions between the parties under which the work is performed across ATO's 6 key common law factors. There is no single common law factor that will be conclusive in determining whether the worker is an employee or a contractor. We need to consider the totality of the working arrangements. As an overview, the questions on this slide outline the considerations of the ATO's 6 common law factors. So they are, can they subcontract the work or pay somebody else to do it? Are they paid an hourly rate for the time they work, or are they paid on commission? Or do you pay them for results based on a quote that they've provided? Do they provide their own tools and equipment, or do they receive an allowance for tools? Or are these simply provided for them? Do they have a legal liability to rectify the costs of any defects? Do you, as their employer, have the right to direct the way in which the work is performed? Or do they have freedom in the way that the work is done, subject to the specific terms of any contract or agreement? And lastly, do they work within and are they considered part of the employer's business? Or do they operate their own business independently from the employer, being free to accept or refuse additional work? If you're unsure, again, we recommend using the ATO online decision tool. Once the ATO decision tool determines a person to be an employee or a contractor, we will accept that decision for work cover insurance and claims purposes. Employers are encouraged to keep a copy of the decision, and the tool can be found at www.ato.gov.au. So also importantly, we need to go through a specific list of people who aren't covered because there are some specific exclusions under our Act, and they include the director of a corporation, a trustee of a trust, or a partner working for their own partnership, anybody engaged by the Commonwealth, professional sports people, fishing ship crew who receive a share of the vessel's gross earnings, driving instructors who supply and use a motor vehicle for tuition, anyone participating in an approved program or work for an employment program, and a person who has a personal services business determination from the ATO. So moving on into what payments do you declare as wages, because we do get a lot of questions about this in renewal time. So our top 5 tips to help you declare the right wages for workers you employ in Queensland. So you do need to declare the gross PAYG salary and wage payments. So this is how much you paid your workers from the 1st of July 2018 until the 30th of June 2019. And it should include all wages, salary payments, and other earnings. So remember, it's the gross figure that you'll need to declare. You also need to declare superannuation. So that's all superannuation contributions made by you on behalf of your workers. This includes payments made under the compulsory superannuation guarantee levy and payments that an employer makes in addition to that amount. And lastly, you also need to declare your apprentice wages. So you declare all of the wages that you pay to apprentices. If you do declare apprentice wages to us, you'll be eligible to claim a premium discount if you renew your policy online or over the phone. So please note with that one, it doesn't apply to trainees, just apprentices. And you don't need to declare director, trustee, or partner payments. So as discussed on the previous slide, these are some of the specific exclusions under our Act. Therefore, any payments made to them shouldn't be declared as wages, even if that person is actively working for the business. A few other things you need to know about. So you do need to declare any fringe benefits and other entitlements that have monetary value. And any payments that you make to contractors who are deemed to be workers. Some things to leave out of your declaration are allowances or expenses reimbursed for work-related expenses, any lump sum termination payments, claims excess period payments, and any compensation payments that have been reimbursed by WorkCover. Now, if you'd like some further information, there is a wages definition manual on our website that has further information for you about what to declare as wages when you are renewing your policy, and you can always give us a call if you would like to chat through your specific circumstances. So moving on to our payment options, we do offer an interest-free monthly payment plan at no extra cost. So if you wish to set up a payment plan, declaring your wages early allows you to spread your payments over more time. If you do wish to pay your premium in full, you can receive a 5% discount if you declare your wages on time, which is by the 31st of August, and then make your payment in full by the 16th of September. However, any discounted premium cannot be less than $200. Full premium payment is due by the 30th of September if you aren't paying via a payment plan. Late payment of your premium will result in an automatic late payment penalty being applied. So WorkCover will deem an employer uninsured until all outstanding premium, including any penalties, is paid in full, and you will also be liable for any claims costs that arise. So if you aren't able to pay your premium by its due date using any of the methods that I've highlighted, you can apply for premium funding from your financial institution or independent premium funders. WorkCover Connect. So this is our website for our employers, and it is easily the easiest place for you to renew your policy with us. So you can access it at any time, day or night. All you need to do is pop in your policy number and your wages declaration figure. You can then pay your premium right there, then and there, and get a copy of the certificate of currency if you need it. It's really easy. That's not all. To access the full set of features that are available through WorkCover Connect, you just need to create an account, and then you'll be connected with everything that you need to effectively manage your workers' compensation policy. As I mentioned, you can renew your policy, but you can also break down your premium and budget for the future. You can analyze claims and safety data for your policy and industry using graphs and charts that allow you to identify trends and compare how you are tracking compared to the rest of your industry. And you can also use it to help track any claims with us. So I would encourage you to log on after this session and check it out. We've received a lot of positive feedback about it, and I'm sure that you will find it useful as well. As I mentioned earlier, the next webinar in this series will be about common law claims, so keep an eye out for more information and registration details for that one. That is the end. So I hope that I've given you some useful information today and that you found this webinar helpful. We've got time now for some questions, if there's anything that you would like to ask.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Emma. We do have a few. First one is, how do you become a self-insurer?
That is a fantastic question, and it's one that we do get quite often. So the criteria for self-insurance in Queensland includes that you need to employ at least 2,000 full-time workers in Queensland. You also need to provide an unconditional bank guarantee or cash deposit. So a self-insurer manage their own workers' compensation claims, and they hold that self-insurance license with the workers' compensation regulator, but it is limited based on, the need for 2,000 full-time employees.
Excellent. Next one, what types of claims don't affect premiums?
That's another great question. So journey and recess claims are the primary types of claims that won't be included in the calculation of your premium. However, if you fall under the simplified premium calculation model introduced with the small business employers in mind, there's several protections in place to minimize large variances in the premium, as we spoke about in the presentation.
And another one, what if I have two business activities? Will I be provided with 2 weeks?
Sometimes. So there's some instances where 2 or more weeks will be applied to a single policy. However, for that to happen, you need to be able to provide us that will show us that there is no link between the activities. So for example, maybe the 2 activities that you're doing operate from separate locations and they're not incidental to each other. Alternatively, if you are operating 2 or more business activities from the same location or they do depend on each other, I would encourage you to give us a call and chat through with one of our representatives your specific situation, because usually we only apply 1 week to those policies and we will work with you to work out which one is more predominant.
Okay, can you be a director and an employee?
Not for work cover purposes. So being a director is one of the specific exclusions under the Act. So we do have a different kind of insurance called a workplace personal injury insurance policy. There is some information on our website about it, but essentially that's like a form of income protection insurance that working directors can take out for themselves. So they won't be covered under the accident insurance policy. We do have an option for them to be covered, and there are other forms of income protection insurance with other companies that they can explore as well.
Okay, another one. We have an employee based in New South Wales and they work mainly in New South Wales, but our office is here in Queensland. Do we pay workers' compensation for these employees?
So if they're permanently located in New South Wales, they would be deemed an employee in New South Wales. So I would encourage you to give New South Wales a call and talk through the circumstances with them and make sure you do have the adequate protections in place for that person or those people who are based down in New South Wales.
Okay, this is a little bit tricky one. How long after a person either resigns or is terminated from employment can they make a work cover claim?
Generally in Queensland, there's a 6-month period in which you can make a claim. So if somebody hurts themselves with you this week and they resign and they finish up next month, technically they've got 6 months to put a claim in. There are a few exceptions to that, sometimes where that limit doesn't apply or can be extended. It's hard to answer that one in a hypothetical sense because things are assessed on a case-by-case basis. So if that is not a hypothetical question, please give us a call and we will discuss, the particulars of that with you.
Okay, excellent. That's all the questions that we've had come through today. If you do think of any more, please contact us. Now, before we go, I just wanted to mention, if you could just pop to the next slide, Emma. Awesome, thank you. I just wanted to mention that CCIQ can help with information about work cover claims and returning to work. through our workers' compensation hotline. So this service is available to all Queensland employers. It's free. The number is 1300 365 855, or you can email workcoverinfo@cciq.com.au. So all the details are on the screen there. Before we go, thank you, Emma, for coming in today. Thank you for everyone who has joined us. We will send out an email later today that has a link to the recording and the presentation slides, as well as some of the resources there that Emma has mentioned as well. And as she also mentioned, keep your eyes peeled for a common law webinar. Once we have the date for this, we will let you know. That's it for now. Thank you for joining us, and on behalf of CCIQ, we hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.